My guest at this time is Mike Sommers, president of the American Petroleum Institute. He joins me now to discuss how America has now become a net exporter of energy and where he sees energy policy heading in the near future. Will the energy economy boom even more? And what does he think of efforts by some lawmakers to make fossil fuels, quote unquote, unnecessary by the end of the next decade? And Mike, thanks so much for being with us.
Greg, it's great to be with you.
Well, let's start with where we are right now. President Trump delivered his State of the Union speech on Tuesday night, and one of his lines, among many, of course, was touting the fact that America is now a net exporter of energy, which is a far cry from where we were about a decade ago. What were the keys to accomplishing this?
Well, first of all, Greg, it truly is an incredible accomplishment that we've made in the United States, and it's really because of the innovation that the oil and natural gas industry has put forward over the course of the last decade. I mean, you think about the fact that just 10 years ago, the United States was only producing about 5 million barrels of natural gas and oil, and now we're on the cusp of producing 12 to 15 million barrels of oil. It's truly an incredible accomplishment that was a direct result of American innovation, and it's something that we should be proud of. I mean, you think about just a few short years ago, we were almost held hostage on a yearly basis to the folks in Vienna at the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. And now we are the world's leading energy producer, both of natural gas and oil and of refined products like gasoline. That's something that the American people should be proud of, and this is an American-made industry that continues to deliver for the record demand that occurs throughout the world for oil and natural gas.
Mike, you mentioned a 250% boost in oil production there. You said 5 million barrels up to 12 to 13 million barrels. I assume that means a day?
Yep.
Wow.
Yes.
Very impressive.
Truly incredible what we're doing. Yep.
And so what does that mean?
And you think about what world demand is right now. World demand is 100 million barrels of oil a day. That we just hit that mark last year. And the United States is the one that's making up that difference. We have an economist here at the American Petroleum Institute that actually estimates that if it weren't for the shale boom in the United States that has occurred in the various different basins, from the Bakken in North Dakota to the Permian in Texas, the gas prices in the United States would actually be almost double what they are today. We are no longer being held hostage by rogue regimes throughout the world. We are the world's energy leader.
Who deserves the credit for this?
Well, I think it's really American innovation. It's American producers. It's folks in this industry that work every day to produce safe, reliable, and, by the way, sustainable energy for the American people. And of course, government regulations help. We've seen with this administration that they've allowed a lot more exploration, particularly on public lands, and that has helped as well. But this is something that occurred, started 12 years ago, and it's only going to grow in the United States.
Do you believe that the budding trade deal here to replace NAFTA, or at least update NAFTA, it would be good for the ongoing energy production in the United States? Briefly explain why.
Yeah, absolutely. Canada and Mexico are our two best trading partners. And the new United States-Mexico-Canada free trade agreement is good for the American natural gas and oil industry. We need those customers to continue to thrive as an industry. So we're working hard with the Congress and the administration to get that new law enacted, hopefully in the next few months, so that American consumers can benefit from the free trade agreement.
You said something a moment ago. I just want to clarify real quick. You said regulation's been good. Most businesses aren't big fans of federal regulations. How has it actually helped you?
Well, we're for smart regulation. We need to make sure that we have a regulatory regime in place that is good for American consumers and good for American businesses. I think certainly this administration has been better on the regulatory side than previous administrations, but we work with White Houses of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party to make sure that the regulatory regime makes sense for the oil and natural gas industry.
On Thursday, Mike, we're talking with Mike Sommers, president of the American Petroleum Institute. We saw the outline of the Green New Deal, which calls for fossil fuels becoming unnecessary by the year 2030. It also calls for guaranteed jobs, guaranteed health care, coverage and benefits for those either unable or even unwilling to work. They even think they might be able to phase out air travel. Obviously, some of that is wishful thinking, if not a lot of it. But what's your reaction to it from a leading position in an industry that they'd like to see not exist in a decade?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we have to make sure that the future energy policy in the United States is actually based on reality, not on fantasy. And I think the proposal that was released yesterday is not at all based in reality. And we need to be realistic about what the future energy needs are going to be. This country and other countries throughout the world are going to continue to demand natural gas and oil for their energy future to really, provide for modern life in this country and in the world. I think one of the things that folks often ignore is that there are about 1 billion people in the world that don't have access to reliable energy. And the way that they're going to get reliable energy is through this industry. There is a trilemma that we call it an energy trilemma that we have to focus on, and that's making sure that energy products and energy itself is of course reliable and affordable, but it has to be sustainable as well. The natural gas and oil industry is meeting that challenge on a daily basis, and we continue to get better at it. And others just can't compete, particularly on the affordable and reliable side. So this industry, we're continuing to innovate just like we did with the shale revolution that's going on in this country, and we'll continue to meet the needs of the American people this year and beyond, as long as the regulatory regime, the tax regime, continues to support an industry that has provided so much for the American people and the population of the world.
Mike, we'll let you run. Thank you, sir, very much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much for your time, Greg.
Mike Sommers is president of the American Petroleum Institute. I'm Greg Columbus reporting for Radio America.